President Trump seemed to be having a grand time with the media when he was in Singapore. I mean, he held a news conference that went on for 75 minutes. I don't know, I was sleeping, it was 4 in the morning here, but he took a lot of questions. And he gave a whole series of interviews to Bret Baier at Fox, to Sean Hannity at Fox, to Greta Van Susteren, now working for VOA, and to ABC's George Stephanopoulos, which was significant because that's the first time he sat down with anybody from a broadcast network in more than a year. And President more than happy to talk about, he was in a good mood, he hadn't slept for about 25 hours, to talk about what he felt he had accomplished at the summit with Kim Jong-un. But by the time he got back to Washington, he was not happy with the coverage. And I've criticized the coverage myself, we'll get to that in a moment. But this tweet yesterday from the president was really something. And I will read it to you. So funny to watch the fake news, especially NBC and CNN. They are fighting hard to downplay the deal with North Korea. 500 days ago, they would have begged for this deal. Looked like war would break out. Our country's biggest enemy is the fake news so easily promulgated by fools. Now, I don't have any problem with the fools part, and fake news has become, he says it 18 times a day. But I do have a serious problem with this part. Our country's biggest enemy. Really? Our country's biggest enemy after President Trump had spent time with Kim Jong-un, a brutal dictator who imprisons his own people, who assassinates members of his own family, who uses starvation as a tool. Our biggest enemy compared to, what's this guy's name? Vladimir Putin, who invades other countries such as Crimea, and of course is a violator of human rights, as there are around the world. I mean, he hasn't used this kind of rhetoric in a while, and I really think it goes too far. No matter what you think of the press coverage, and I've been very critical of it. I've been critical of the negative tone of much of the coverage of the Singapore summit. I've written a whole book about how the press is overwhelmingly negative toward President Trump. But enemy, it suggests treason, it suggests traitors, it's divisive, it's inflammatory. The president knows exactly what he's doing, and I guess he's trying to gin up the base, which doesn't like the press, and I get that. But I think he undermines his own cause when he uses that kind of language. Now, having said that, I've really been struck by how many of the pundits who were horrified when the president was attacking Kim Jong-un as Little Rocket Man and my button is bigger than your button, fire and fury, and all of that. So it may well be that the president didn't come back with very much other than a vague statement in which Kim did say he would move toward denuclearization, but no real details. You could certainly argue that he gave Kim a big gift in the meeting itself. You could certainly argue that the president didn't get much in return for ending, at least temporarily, U.S. military exercises with South Korea. All that is fair game. But some of these folks are the same people who had absolutely no problem with Barack Obama meeting with Raul Castro, a dictator, negotiating a nuclear deal with Iran, also a hostile foreign power. There are a lot of bad people in the world, and the president, has decided to negotiate in his inimitable style with Kim Jong-un. And he has said, he told us to Stephanopoulos, he said, look, I may be back here in a year, you'll be interviewing me, and I'll say it was all a big mistake. So I do think it's fine for the President of the United States to push back on the negative coverage. I don't think he should keep using this word enemy or anything resembling it. And one final point, and that is Republicans who would have gone crazy, I was going to use a stronger word, would have gone ballistic if Barack Obama had done all these things with Kim Jong-un. Are firmly behind Trump. After Mark Sanford lost that South Carolina primary, he was a big Trump critic. Trump even tweeted on the day of the election a reference to the sex scandal that involved the former governor. Surprised he went there. Republicans have pretty much fallen in line. They're mostly not taking on Trump over the summit or just about anything else. This is now Donald Trump's Republican Party, and it will go into the midterms as a Trump party. That will be an interesting challenge for the media that sometimes fall down on the job, but are not America's enemies.